Yes, yeah.
When somebody came in to resign,
They never asked.
I'd ask him two questions.
I think.
Or are you going? Live. Leave.
You all set, fellas?
Going there, going there.
Live. I'll call the November meeting to order. And if we all would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. So, first order of business, consideration of the October minutes.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I will make a motion to approve the minutes of October 10th, 2024, as well as the May 9th, 2024, and August 8th, 2024, and September 12th, 2024, as written. Amended, I'm sorry, as amended, I apologize. October 10th is written and the other three as amended.
I second that. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3 ayes. So I'd like to touch for a minute, just speak about why we're amending minutes. The obvious is October, that's what we normally do, the previous meeting, but also we just took a vote to amend the May, August, and September meetings. Last month's meeting, the citizen came in and had a couple concerns. Number one, about how we were entering and exiting non-public, and how we were keeping the minutes based on those actions. Accordingly, the commission and myself in particular reached out to legal counsel and asked him to take a look at our procedures. How it was his legal opinion, how we did move in and move out was fine under the laws as written in the state of New Hampshire. He did make one note that he suggested a change in how we keep the minutes. A very small procedural change. And just to go over that in a little more detail, Sherry, just to explain that, if you will.
In the previous months that we just amended, May 9th, August 8th, and September 12th of 2024, we had all the records and the votes in our non-public minutes, and we needed to show that the votes that we took actually in public were in public. And so now they have been added to our public minutes to reflect the votes that we took and the times.
Fellas, do you have any questions for Sherry on that?
I do not.
Activity reports. Captain.
All right, thank you. So for the month of October, for the incidents, we had 65 offenses for the month of October with 62 incidents, which is an increase of 19.23%, 52 to 62 for that month. And you can see all the background that we have on that, with all the different list of offenses for the incidents. In the arrest for October, we had a decrease, 12 to 10, which is a decrease of 16.67 for the month of October, which can happen especially when your incidents increase for that amount. And then you'll see all the backup that's in there for the arrest. Traffic stops, we had an increase in the month of October from 67 to 82. That's a 22.39%. We had 16 tickets given out, which is a 19.52% chance of getting a citation. So, and you can see all the, how I broke it down with the list of officers and streets and citations in which was given out. Any questions on those? Nope. Then you'll see the personal analysis report, which shows for the first of the month of October, which gives it out to all the officers. Remember that we rotate, so It depends on what their shifts are right now, which is very lengthy and what shift work they're doing. Most of them are covering, I would say, 12 hours a day, each day right now to cover the shifts. So you can see the activity for that compared to last year, if you look at it, for the month of October. Actually, I don't have that right here. But what I can do is give you the whole year. For this year, we had 506 incidents, 151 arrests, and parking tickets was 277. Last year at this time, we were 528, 227, and 276 parking tickets at this time. So pretty good average, especially how everyone's working, how hard they are for right now, especially with the staff. I can get into the SRO reports. I'll just brief it up. First, I'll start with Officer LaRochelle. So this is the second month of the school for October, and he had 2 reports that were fights from the middle school. Can's reports was referred for that. A student made a threat to her mother at home when he was at the school. That was referred to that jurisdiction where he made contact, and that agency was aware of it. He had an accident on the campus that he took care of it, a disorderly student that he took care of, and he's working that case right now. He had 2 motor vehicle stops. So in the afternoon, what we did in the beginning of the year, or was it the end of last year? Beginning of this year, right? We had them out in the afternoon and the morning for traffic on McManus Road. So the morning, sometimes we can make it worse than what it actually is. So we figured that out, and we did. So the officers are not out there in the morning time. But in the afternoon, when you have a large area, amount of cars coming from one area, coming out, it's a lot easier to direct that traffic. So the officer is there in the afternoons. So during that afternoon, he actually had 2 motor vehicle stops, which may be due to the fact of it would almost caused an accident in that general area. So it's nice that he's there and seeing that, and he's directing the traffic that's out there in the afternoons once the school buses leave the campus. So another thing I noticed on here, if you guys read that, for some time now, SRO LaRochelle has been writing down police and law questions outside of his office. So he's been doing that on the marker board, and the students who get them right, he gets a piece of candy the next day, the following day. So during the 3rd week of October, the assistant principal mentioned this as a positive teaching moment in the weekly memo that goes out to the school. So that's pretty good stuff right there that you see. And especially with Officer Shanks, if you noticed on the 2nd, 3rd, and the 4th, he helped out in Mrs. Place tech career class over in middle school. And so he worked with 2 students that were interested in becoming electricians. He utilized the electrical kit and tester to show them the proper wire receptacles and lighting circuits. He brought his hand tools and showed them each how to use it. So before he became a police officer, as you could tell, Corporal Shanks was an electrician. So he's really showing that out in the school, which actually is really nice to see, to giving back. So up in the school, yeah, he had a couple fights in the school there, in the high school too. So and you can see all that stuff. I did print out the list of offenses that were up at the school, and mostly simple assaults, theft, criminal mischief, a lot of tobacco use that's up there that he's assisting with. The next is the prosecutor and the courts. So this month dealt with a lot of parking issues from the summer. 12 parking that went up to court and all paid $930. He did 3 tobaccos that went up to court, which was coming from the school system. Another one with a license required and operating up to suspension. So which a total of the amount for that came out of that was $2,046. Other than the parking tickets, I believe the parking tickets come back to the town, but everything else goes to the state, even then when knowing that they're going up to the court. And there is a fee to the court system on that. The next thing, excuse me, is gas and cost for the month of October. For the police, it went to $1,059.47. The good thing that we did see from September, October, it went from 284 to 255. That's actually good, nice to see that it's going down. So that was 415 gallons that was used. So we're used at 53.8%. So we're doing really well in that line item. And when you see the budget that I gave you in this month's, in the review, we're looking that we're underspent right now at 6.5% for the total budget. So we're looking pretty good on that end. And that's all I got. I'll pass it along to the chief.
Thank you. Any questions for the captain?
No, all good here.
Thanks, Mark. Chief?
I just have a few items from what has happened since we last saw each other. It was on the 10th.
Yes.
I did accept Officer Gabrielli's resignation on the 14th of October. I'll hand that over to you for the record.
Can you talk into the mic?
Hello. And that brings us into November, because actually on October 9th, Selectman O'Brien offered me a project of which I've been buried into, and I've included several other folks within the PD to work on with regard to the county tax and what appears to be duplicitous service, and how, if at all, we can recover any monies from the county. That work continues. And when I get to a point where I can pause and give you all where I'm at now, I'll certainly do that. But it is, it's several rabbit holes, not just one. And I think by the look on your face, you knew that was coming. The elections were held on the 5th of November. Just like everywhere else in the state and the country, lines were out the door and around the corner. The thing I have to comment on, and it's the same thing I've seen before here, but in this election, there was even more folks waiting at various times during the day, whether it be the beginning of the polls or lunchtime or right after work. There's a lot of folks of different political persuasion, and these folks were great. They were all polite. They were all talking amongst each other. Nobody was, I didn't hear any negativity from anybody. And it was actually a pleasure to work with the captain at the polls all day. I always get to meet new people, and I get to re-meet people I've met at the last series of polls. So it was a real positive day, I think. 2 days later, on the 7th, was something called the PSTC audit. Every time there is a new police chief that's assigned or takes oath of office in the state of New Hampshire, the Police Standards and Training does an audit. And what that audit does is it reviews the records within the police department to include training requirements, and if the roster is up to date and these types of things. And we did welcome the auditors from PSTC on the 7th. They did give us some assistance in getting some of our training records up to speed, which the captain's been furiously working on, and ultimately looks pretty good. The following day was, for the most part, union negotiations continue, and I imagine they will continue. We have our next meeting date is in December. And we are actually moving through this. We're not stuck anywhere yet. We've hit some contentious issues along the way, but I think everybody has kept a pretty good head about themselves, and we're trying to do what's best for the town of Wolfeboro and the police department. The 12th of November, which was Day before yesterday was firearms qualifications. This is an annual requirement, as you all know. And I'm sure you all remember those days. It's always the coldest, windiest day of the year, no matter what time of the year you decide to have them. The 12th was no exception. And they went with pretty good success. So we were pleased about that. The last thing I want to mention is I had spoken last meeting, several meetings, about Power DMS and bringing Power DMS into the police department to handle a multitude of tasks. These tasks include the cataloging and publishing of our policies and procedures, of which you all are very well informed about, as well as training records and all sorts of things that are going to help us with further audits by police standards and training, because it'll all be in one place. And it'll all be accessible by the employees of the police department. The thing I want to add on to that tonight is, as of right now, the commissioners, you all can log into Power DMS. You'll be getting an invite on your Wolfeboro Police email on how to get into the system. And it's our hopes that you can, you'll get prospective policies sent to you or notification that they're there, and upon reading them, if there's concerns or questions or you want to make changes, there is a workflow page that you'll be able to get into a conversation with all of us without having to come into a meeting and to do that. And at whatever point you get to where it's acceptable, you can then electronically approve that policy. No more holding 33 policies and asking you to get to that when you get a chance. I think that's all I have, unless the commission has any questions of me.
Any questions?
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, other than the building. So the process is going well. Supervisor Lyons, and who's in the stands today, and myself, we meet weekly on that every Thursday, and they're about 2 weeks ahead of schedule for the February 6th move-in, but we'll see that when that comes into the February 6th to see if we're still 2 weeks ahead, but there's a lot to do when that does happen, especially with the communication center, as that's moving over to phase 2 temporarily, and then back into phase 3 once it's complete. So there's a lot to do in that little stage right there. So, but other than
Starting to see doorways into the...
yeah, and especially when we start getting close, we'll start getting some more things out to the public, especially how they're going to come into the building, and there's probably going to be a call box somewhere located within the side of the building, because the front and sides of the phase 3, which is the main part of the police department, fire department, won't be able to access. So there's going to be a few changes once we get to that stage. So.
I think the only thing I would probably note on top of that, just because I realize that a lot of folks watch these proceedings on YouTube that are residents and are interested in what's happening in the building, is to try not to drive around the building and to see what's going on. We've had a few near misses with fire apparatus and subcontractors coming out of the back of the building, and one of our residents is driving around trying to see what's going on. There will be, I think, time at a later date in order to actually have a structured tour of what you're all paying for, and we could do that safely at that point. Thank you.
Next meeting date will be Thursday, December 12th, 6 p.m. here in the Great Hall. Thursday, December 12th, 6 p.m.
I do have one item I wanted to bring up, Mr. Chairman. I think probably you two gentlemen also have seen the email from the superintendent relative to the security task force meeting on the 21st. We attended one way back shortly after we had made the recommendation for a second SRO, and they were kind enough to invite us to that. It's my personal opinion, and I'll go with whatever these two gentlemen decide, that we let the executive the command staff continue on attending those meetings. I don't think it's really necessary for the commission to attend. It's mostly, well, it is, it's all police, fire, and EMS personnel in their preparedness for a catastrophic event. So she was kind enough, Caroline invited us to this next meeting, but I don't think it's necessary for the commission to attend. That's just my personal opinion, but.
I think that meeting concerns reunification, right? So isn't it, talking about the Governor Wentworth Regional School District thing?
It's the annual, or they meet, I think twice a year as a captain over school safety.
Oh, yeah.
Task force made up of all the district towns,
Right.
It's coming,
representatives and police.
yeah, it's coming up next week.
Aren't they having a presentation on reunification?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, all right, the same one then. Yep, got it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think if any of us want to go, I think we'd probably be welcome, that'd be
Yeah.
great, but otherwise.
I didn't answer the email, but I could thank her, or somebody could thank her for her
Yeah.
invitation. Okay.
I think the representation's in good hands.
Yeah.
But I might take her up on it, we'll see. Anything else?
No, that's it.
No.
I think we do have one, I'm sorry, skipped a few things. Selectman's representative, Selectman O'Brien.
Good evening. Thanks for inviting me again. And thank you for sharing your concerns about people whizzing around the back of the public safety building. That was me the other day that almost came head-on with a piece of fire apparatus, so I appreciate that. Very, very thoughtful of you to do that. To say we've been busy is kind of like we're busy, and you folks are busy. The election the other day was a blast. About 80% of the voters of this town, in one way, shape, or form, showed up and voted. And we signed up 5% more of our voting population during the day. They were out the door. And the chief and the captain were here, and you're exactly right. It was collegial. There wasn't any partisan stuff. It was great reconnecting with people. And I think we've now, we can put the pencils down on that election, and we can move forward. And Pat Waterman and all of her team and you folks are amazing. It was great. We transmitted the budget over to the Budget Committee the other night, 36 million, roughly speaking. That includes about 390,000 of capital outlay, lawnmowers, cars, those kinds of things. What's still not in the budget is healthcare expense, and obviously whatever happens as a result of discussions with the two bargaining units. We'll begin looking at warrant articles probably next week. I'm not going to handicap the amount of money, but you can bet if you're watching, there's a big ask coming in for water and sewer, pumps, all those grubby things that if they just don't work, it's a problem. So you'll see a pretty fair amount of activity there. The ambulance service team is going to present to the Board of Selectmen. I think it's next week. It's a blur. I think it's the 20th. I've been on that team. There's really 3 points that they need to demonstrate, I think, to the board, and I've shared this with the board. Point number 1 is there a problem with the current ambulance configuration across the state of New Hampshire? Point number 2 is, if it is a problem, what are we going to do about it? And can we do it, or should somebody else do it? And then point number 3 is, do we know how to run it? It's really, those are really the 3 high-level questions you should answer. And I think the team's done a pretty respectable job teeing this stuff up. But it's going to be up to, all of us, you included, because you're going to be a party to this, to poke around in that. Just crawl around in it a little bit, because it's a very, very large decision. This is one of these, if we make it, we can't decide we don't want to do it anymore. We're in. It's one of those you're in all the time. Last night here, for those people who are interested, we took a look at the Route 28 corridor. I'd say around 50 people, the captain, like 50 people probably showed up.
Yeah, about that.
And there was a bunch looking at YouTube. I mean, the questions that are being asked and the discussion that's been had is the same we've been having since 2018. With more data or with less data. It's basically basically the same thing. That's going to go up for conversation as well with the board, which could result in, and we have to sort this out. It either could be, my words, not anybody else, it could be a referendum, or it could be a warrant article where the voters get to make a decision. But the board hasn't settled on that yet. But more to come on that. And you've covered off on the project. I just want to give context for everybody. We got a bill last year from the county for $637,000. It was 24% larger than the year before. And that was an eye-popping number when someone throws $634,000 at us for a bill. At least I can speak for myself. I want to look at that. I want to know why. And so embedded in that is a whole bunch of conversations that the chief and others are going to have and should have, I think, to square that nut. So that's where we are. I think you're in front of the budget committee next week. Good luck. Have fun. Do whatever you do there. My perspective on the budget is it's extremely tight on run rate. Probably 90% of what we're spending or asking the voters to appropriate is run rate. It's there. And the big lift year over year between where we were last year at default, 33 million, this year 36. The big tranche of that comes in a couple of big places. The public safety building part 2, which is you guys, that bond payment, is teed up. And so there's a lot of commitments that were already made that are now showing up, on the bill. So that's where we are. I'd be glad to take any questions.
Anyone?
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Paul. Budget Committee rep, I guess Tom Bell couldn't make it tonight. Yep, he's at a Budget Committee meeting. Great, thank you. Pass that. Other business or public input? Ernie? Anyone? We do have a reason to go into non-public, so I'll entertain a motion to go into non-public under RSA 91-A semicolon 3(2)(a).
So moved?
I'll second.
Roll call vote.
Yes.
Aye.
I'm a yes?
Yes.
Yes. We'll take a few minutes to clear the room.
All right.
See how quick these are?